overhead shrug. So I'm using a bench, as you can see from that lateral view, that has it set pretty much to the full upright position. And I have a PVC pipe here as a dowel. The overhead shrug, we're using this to kind of facilitate some of the muscles that are associated with getting full upward rotation of our shoulder blade, which allows us to get into a good stacked overhead position to where my upper arm bone is seated on the surface that it sits on relative to the shoulder blade. That just means a more stable, comfortable overhead position if we're like a CrossFit athlete or someone who's doing a lot of vertical overhead pressing or catching work, stuff like that. Now, hand position is going to vary a little bit for everybody. So I can go really wide and I can do my shrug. I can bring my hands really close. I can do my shrug. You were trying to have that hand position mimic the position that you're trying to do. So for a lot of people who are doing some barbell work, our hands are going to be a little bit wider than shoulder width. And we're going to get into that overhead position. And we're just focusing on driving our hands or our knuckles all the way to the ceiling, where I'm trying to eliminate as much space as possible between my shoulder and my ear, and then back down. Now the other piece is the bench. So from that side view, again, the bench was vertical. So if I'm someone that is really restricted in overhead mobility, I can simply lay the bench back one notch, and that allows me to train out of so much flexion or overhead position, right? And that's more comfortable for my shoulder joint. So it's gonna vary for each individual. And then the other piece is we can weight it. So that's one reason why I like using a PVC pipe. If I just take a change plate, 10-pound weight, slide it to the middle, go back to that position, doing my overhead shrug, trying to get as high up as possible, coming back out of that. As high up as possible, coming back out of it. And then just do your best to try to keep a neutral spine. Because if we're really training an overhead position, yeah, vertical pressing, you're gonna get extension of your low back or kind of arching of your low back to get you in the overhead position. But for now, we're trying to work on some motor control. We're trying to work on some range of motion. So try to keep that low back kind of tucked under you so we can really over-exaggerate this overhead positioning. So then when you go to get back in the position you need for the movement that you're trying to gain, it is just that much easier to get into that correct stacked position. So again, nice tall posture. You're doing your best to maintain a double chin or a neutral cervical spine so you're not having your head pop forward. Hand width is going to vary. Typically that's depicted for you in your programming, or find whatever is the most restricted, minus being, hands all the way together. Because right now we're trying to get our hands to kind of be a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. We're going to press as high up as possible, come back down. Do not add load until you can train through an entire range of motion with control. Once you can train all the way to in range, come back out of that with good control in a full upright position. Only then do you add a little bit of load, and that would be in a form of a change plate sliding over the dowel.